Yeah. Unknown brain.
Today we're going to be talking about why 70% of lottery winners go broke within just a couple of years and go crawling back to their old jobs. So to start off, I have 3 people I want to tell you about that have won the lottery. The first person I want to talk to you about is Gerald Mooswagen. Jared won a lottery for $10 million. So if you're doing the math, that's about $250,000 a year you could spend for the next 40 years. But within just a couple of years, Gerald lost all of it. As soon as he got the money, he started spending it on cars, mansion, he partied, lots of drugs and alcohol, and he just was living a very destructive lifestyle, and within a matter of years, he lost all of it, completely spent everything. So the second person or example of someone losing all of their lottery winnings is Alex Yoff. He won the lottery for $13 million, which is enough to spend $325,000 a year for the next 40 years. So instead of saving or investing his money, he just went on a ton of shopping sprees, spent way too much money, way too fast on cars, houses, just a lot of things he didn't need. He was even spending $1,000 a night at a hotel in Vegas while he was gambling insane amounts of money. So his gambling addiction continued even after he won the lottery. Alex also never paid taxes on his lottery winnings, so he was convicted for tax fraud and got in a lot of trouble there, and he ended up losing all of it. Now, the third example, or the third person I want to talk to you about is David Edwards, and he was the biggest lottery winner that we're going to be talking about today. He won for $27 million, which is enough to spend $675,000 a year for the next 40 years. But like the rest of the lottery winners we've talked about so far, he spent his money way too fast. It's estimated that he spent $12 million, so almost half of his money in the first year from winning the lottery, on a lot of things like cars, houses, well, more like mansions, and partying, alcohol, drugs, and things like that. All right, so kind of tragic that you can have so much money, lose it so quick. So these 3 lottery winners that lost it all have some things in common, along with other countless lottery winners losing everything just in a matter of years, going back to their job at McDonald's. First being they spent a lot of their money on material things. So lots of cars, an unnecessary amount of cars, huge mansions, houses galore, and all 3 of them dove into the party lifestyle with lots of alcohol and drugs. Not a great environment to be living in day after day. These 3 examples, along with all the other lottery winners, most of them continued to gamble. So after winning the lottery, which is gambling, right? They continued to gamble. They went to Vegas, continued to gamble, and lost a lot of money throwing it into casinos and other forms of gambling. So those are some things you can kind of see in common. Now let's talk a little bit about why specifically they lost. And I'm going to talk about 3 main reasons that lottery winners go broke in just a matter of years. So number 1, and we kind of already talked about this, but they bought things that they didn't need. A lot of these lottery winners would buy tons and tons of cars. Realistically, do you need 12, 15, 16 cars? You probably don't. Even if you have a lot of money, you're not going to be able to drive all of those, and they're just going to be sitting there collecting dust. So cars were a big purchase, along with mansions and just designer clothes galore and all of these things that they really didn't need to survive. They were all luxury items that they'd be purchasing in excess. Now, granted, I'm not saying that if you win the lottery or have that amount of money, you shouldn't be spending it on things that you like cars or big houses, clothes, things like that. But obviously you need to realize your limits and put your priorities in the right place. And now the second reason why lottery winners go broke kind of ties into that first one of spending money on things they didn't need. 2, there's a lot of hidden expenses with those things. With 16 cars, you're going to have crazy high insurance payments. You're going to have huge maintenance bills, because I bet you a lot of these cars are more sports cars, supercars, luxury cars, which break down and they're not as reliable, and the maintenance bill is going to be way larger than if you have your little Honda Accord and you take it in to get it fixed. Along with mortgage payments they're not expecting, property taxes, utilities that are going to be higher than what they're used to in these giant mansions, and all of these little expenses that you probably aren't thinking about are going to be adding up over time. And that brings us to the third reason why lottery winners go broke. And I think this is kind of the most important. This is the biggest reason, and that is because they didn't earn it. And so there's a lot of psychology behind getting something for nothing. It's kind of this idea of mental accounting. So if I were to receive a large sum of money without doing a lot of work to receive it, I take it for granted. So these lottery winners are viewing this money as free money because they didn't earn it. They don't place the same value on it. So even though that money has the same intrinsic value, in their minds, psychologically, it doesn't have the same value because it's free. And they spend it more frivolously, and they don't really realize where all that money's going, and they take it for granted. And so frivolously spending your money creates bad habits that you can't sustain in the long term, because you're not going to continue to win lotteries over and over and over again. You know, it's most likely a once in a lifetime opportunity. So you're going to get all that money, start spending it everywhere, and then you're going to realize, well, hey, I'm out. I don't have any more. What am I going to do? So then you got to go back to your old job. So kind of that whole mindset changes when you get things that you don't earn. And when you spend like that, you're losing sight of reality. You're not really understanding the value of money. And you start spending it on crazy things like cars, houses, drugs, alcohol, and partying, which creates a toxic atmosphere to spend more and more and more money, even though you're not generating more. You're only spending. Now, obviously, I'm not a psychologist in any way, but there is a lot of science behind getting something for nothing and then taking that thing for granted. Now, I'm not saying that you can't be grateful if you receive a bunch of money, but I'm just telling you that psychologically, there's a difference between earning it and getting it for nothing. And the best way I can visualize this in my own terms is thinking about cars. So in high school, my parents bought our family, or the kids in the family, a beater car for high school. So just a really cheap car, but it ran well, it got us around town, got us to school, to other activities and things like that when we were in high school. So we kind of took that car for granted, driving it everywhere, not treating it super well, not caring about maintenance until our parents told us, hey, you need to get an oil change on this car, things like that. Now granted, we were super grateful for that car. We loved it. It was a great car to drive around in high school, did what it needed to do, got us from point A to point B. It was a great car, and I really appreciate my parents for doing that for us. But then fast forward to when I graduate college and purchase my own vehicle. You know, I'm spending a lot more money. I have to pay for insurance, gas, maintenance. I have to keep up on it, make sure I know when it needs to go in for an oil change, make sure I'm replacing the fluids, getting the proper maintenance done, and I have a greater appreciation for it. I'm more worried about it when I'm parking to get door dings and things like that. And it's just a different perspective. It's not that I'm less grateful for the car I had in high school versus the car I have now. It's just I put a different value on it because everything I did was to earn this car. My parents got us this car with their money and their hard work. And I got my own car with my money and my own hard work. It's just a different idea behind it. And you generally are going to put a higher value on something that you work towards. So wrapping everything together, the reason lottery winners go broke is that they don't understand or comprehend the value of the money that they're receiving. And they've never had that amount of money before, most likely, so they're not sure how to spend it wisely or use it in an effective way. So it's really easy to fall into that trap of spend, and then boom, there's nothing left. Now what are you gonna do? Alright, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you liked it at all, tap that like button in the corner and subscribe. I would appreciate it so much. Please leave a comment below if you know of anyone else that maybe inherited a lot of money or received a lot of money from their parents or something like that, and they just completely misspent it. I would love to hear those stories. Thank you and have a great rest of your day.